Hello, I'm the Culture Genie, and today we are going to discuss monarchy and the definition of it. Monarchy comes from the Greek word monos, meaning one or single, and archo, to rule, and refers to a single, at least nominally, line of rulers that has claim for blood right to being the highest authority of the state. So a single family line that rules a state, or at least the highest single authority in the state, officially and legally. This last part about a claim for right of blood is what separates monarchy or kingship from just mere dictatorship or other types of undemocratic rule. Now, some of you more knowledgeable about history might mention elective monarchies, like the Holy Roman Empire in the middle of Europe, the Polish Kingship in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, or the Kalmar Union of the Nordic countries as examples of elective monarchies. And even if there is some truth that there is some overlap between monarchies and other systems, there are some distinctions, even in the case of the Holy Roman Empire, with their electors and their choosing of the Holy Roman Emperor. It is still a type of monarchy, because unlike the Roman Empire it actually tried to mimic, you had to be a member of a certain bloodline or bloodlines in de facto law in order to be voted as an emperor. This was not ever the case for the Roman Empire, which was more of a dictatorship, as it never developed a legal theory of bloodline rulership. Officially, in theory, anyone could become an emperor in the ancient Roman and later Byzantine Empire. In practice, it was an hereditary monarchy, but there is that official legal distinction that could be argued to actually make a difference in how you classify these things. I'm not saying that hybrid forms would not exist there, I'm just saying that just this idea of blood right claim to a throne is what distinguishes monarchy from other systems. After elective monarchies, some might claim that we still have modern constitutional monarchies where kings are no longer the highest authority of the state, and thus this definition is not really a good definition. Sure, this is true, but I'm actually more focused on classical monarchies, even classical constitutional monarchies here, as this is about history rather than the modern age. Because even in constitutional monarchies in the past, in the older times, the king at least formally had the highest authority as head of state, even if it was not absolute power. You are still a king, as you are recognized as the single most powerful person in the constitutional monarchical systems that existed in, for example, England and otherwhere. The king was the single most powerful person, even if he was not absolute in power. Again, I'm talking about monarchies as a real political institution with real power, not the ceremonial kind of kingship that we see today in those monarchies that have survived in the West. Monarchies or kingships as institutions with real political power only make sense in a context of clan structures or clan societies, where the family is the political unit rather than individuals. This is why monarchical kingships have been so common throughout history. In clan societies, all sorts of politics and agreements function through kinship associations and socio-political relationships between families rather than individuals. A clan family is the center of politics in these sorts of societies, and thus a family has privilege or obligations in relationships with other families and associates. You also need to remember that this is the primary type of family for much of human history, and the primary type of society. Monarchy is thus historically in most cases pretty much just a reflection of the society that surrounded it. A monarchical family, the ruling family, is just the greatest thus of those clan families, and thus it has the right to rule. through its kinship associations with other supporting families, through a net of feudal obligations and privileges between the royal family and those families beneath it. One of the great advantages of monarchy, though I'm not supporting monarchy in the modern day, is that historically monarchy in theory creates clear lines of succession and can create stability in a society that is mostly based on clan structures. The bloodline of the king serves as the main family to whom all others are subjugated to in their privileges and obligations too. Again, kingship serves the function as an extension of something that people are already familiar with, just formalized and officially legally recognized. With a clear monarchical line, you avoid in most clan societies actually these sort of constant power struggles for the power in order to get family members into, for example, a senate or into the dictatorial position, which was a great problem for the Roman and later Byzantine Empire, as there did not exist a legitimate, legalized bloodline, and thus struggles for the imperial throne were constant. This is not to say that monarchy has not had a lot of disadvantages too. Well, one of the main disadvantages in the monarchies are that the power of the rulership is given due to birth rather than merit or some other virtue. And you have the issue of monarchies being based upon clan structures. Thus, there are incentives to keep the power within the family, which means marriages within the family are also common, which can lead into some rather disastrous results due to inbreeding, due to repeated marriages between various royal branches. You also have the problem that monarchies, being a result of clan politics, also preserves clan structures in clan society in some ways. Though there are some exceptions to this that you could argue historically, as monarchies have been structured and ordered in very varied ways throughout human history. And this is not strange considering that monarchy is probably the most common form in its various forms of government throughout human history. Monarchy, being such a common system, has had a long history of arguments for its existence. Any form of government needs, after all, some sort of legitimacy for its existence and why it is the system that will rule. Though there has undoubtedly existed a lot more arguments and a lot more detail to these arguments, I've seen throughout history two main types of arguments for the existence of monarchy. The first one I would call the main protector and provider argument. This is a very common argument that the king and royal line is the main protector and provider of the state, and more importantly, of the families and subjects beneath the king and the royal line. Usually this sort of argument is just a reflection of the reality seen in the society, as the royal line is simply the strongest clan around, and thus weaker clans seek their protection and benefits from this stronger clan, or have obligations to this stronger clan due to being subjugated by them. This was a very common argument, especially for the early European kings. I'm talking about kingship before the High Middle Ages. So the first sort of argument is pretty much the king belongs to the strongest clan around, and thus he has the responsibility of protecting those that are subjects of his clan around them. Pretty much just a reflection of clan society, but on a greater level. There is, however, a second type of argument for kingship and monarchy, and that is a bloodline promoted by the divine. God has said that his bloodline has a special right to rule over others. And it must not literally be God, as we can also see the same kind of concept with the divine mandate in China and their rulers. But we usually, when we hear this God-given right, we think about the divine right of kings, which developed during the Middle Ages in Europe. So the second argument is usually that some sort of divine power has given a bloodline the right to rule. That's the second type of argument for monarchy. So the two main arguments are, firstly, that monarchy and the line of kingships function as a main protector and provider, and the other argument for monarchy is that a line has been promoted by the divine. There have existed other forms of arguments for kingship, which I might go through in a future video, but these are the main types of arguments. Monarchy is one of the oldest types of government and is thus important to know about. And I hope that this brief video has been useful and interesting to you, my dear viewers. If you have any questions, please comment upon this video in the comment section. And also don't forget to push the like button if you like this video, as it helps with the algorithm. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities. اشترك بالقناة من فضلكم.